Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I'm excited to introduce our topic, Governance and Risk Management for Microsoft 365 Copilot. On this first slide, you'll see the title and subtitle, which highlight the key focus areas, balancing productivity, compliance, and security in the context of AI-driven data access. Over the course of this presentation, we'll explore how to effectively manage these elements to maximize benefits while minimizing risks. Let's dive in and see how we can ensure a responsible and secure implementation of Microsoft 365 Copilot. Let's take a closer look at governance and risk management for Microsoft 365 Copilot. If you're interested in a deeper dive, you can listen to the full podcast episode at the link provided. The episode really explores the risks and potential implications of using Copilot in our organizations. One key point we need to be aware of is that many organizations might not realize how quickly employees can retrieve highly confidential data without needing explicit file access. This lack of awareness can create serious challenges when it comes to maintaining data security. Another important aspect is the hidden risk that comes with the seamless access Copilot provides. Because it can surface sensitive information unexpectedly, traditional controls might not be enough, and this could lead to data being exposed unintentionally. On the flip side, Copilot also boosts productivity significantly. It integrates data from across your tenant, things like SharePoint, OneDrive, emails, and more, into instant, context-rich outputs. This makes it easier for users to access and use information seamlessly for different tasks, but it also underscores the importance of proper governance and risk management. So, as we move forward, understanding these risks and managing them effectively is essential to leveraging Copilot's benefits while keeping our data secure. Let's take a closer look at how Copilot's data access model works. Essentially, Copilot allows for instant integration of data from a variety of repositories. This means it can pull in information from different sources without needing us to open each file or go through approval steps. It makes accessing and working with data much more seamless and efficient. However, this shift from accessing individual files to working with aggregated data from multiple sources does increase some exposure risks. Because the system flattens the traditional boundaries that once kept sensitive information separate, it's important to be aware of the potential for broader data visibility. Unlike traditional methods where you'd open one file at a time, Copilot aggregates content from various sources, like SharePoint libraries, OneDrive folders, and other tenant-wide repositories, and delivers insights instantly. It pulls all this data together without requiring explicit file openings or approval workflows, which speeds things up but also underscores the need for strong governance and risk management. So, in summary, Copilot's model offers powerful, real-time data insights by integrating multiple data sources on the fly. But it also calls for careful governance to manage the increased exposure and protect sensitive information. Let's look at a real-world example of sensitive data exposure. When using tools like Microsoft 365 Copilot, the rapid generation of drafts can sometimes lead to sensitive insights appearing in unintended contexts. This is a key point because it highlights how crucial it is to manage compliance and data security effectively. For instance, an analyst might unknowingly access sensitive data without even realizing that the source files exist. This creates a risk where confidential information could be exposed inappropriately, simply because the system makes data easily accessible. Furthermore, with Copilot, a single prompt can generate a draft that includes highly sensitive information, like confidential revenue forecasts, which are meant only for senior leadership. While this instant access feels powerful, it also increases the risk of compliance exposure if sensitive insights show up where they shouldn't. Now, to give you a practical example, imagine a junior finance analyst tasked with preparing a performance summary. In the past, they would manually gather data from approved presentations and templates, and then wait for approvals before sharing anything. This manual process provided a layer of control, but with Copilot, the process is faster, which is great, but it also means there's a greater need to manage how data is accessed and shared to prevent unintentional disclosures. Let's take a closer look at how Copilot changes the game when it comes to permissions and logs. Unlike traditional models where access to each file is explicitly recorded, Copilot synthesizes information from multiple files simultaneously. This means it can generate responses by blending data from various sources without opening each file individually. While this is powerful, it also makes visibility more complex and audit trails harder to follow. Essentially, the AI's output may be based on many different sources, but there's often no clear record of how it arrived at that information or which files contributed. In contrast, traditional security models depend on explicit file access. Users open files, and logs record exactly who accessed what, when, and where. This approach provides straightforward visibility and makes audit trails clear and reliable. So, as we move toward AI-driven tools like Copilot, it's important to recognize that these new capabilities can obscure visibility, which poses new challenges for governance and risk management. We need to adapt our strategies to ensure we maintain control and accountability in this evolving landscape. Let's take a closer look at the blind spots in AI-driven data usage, especially when it comes to governance and risk management for Microsoft 365 Copilot. Regulated sectors such as finance, healthcare, and government face heightened risks because of the sensitive nature of their data. One of the main issues here is that there's often a lack of clear evidence showing whether data is being used appropriately. This makes compliance much more challenging for organizations in these industries because they need to prove they're following the rules. Without transparency into how AI is generating responses, compliance officers don't have the necessary evidence to demonstrate proper data handling. And this can increase audit risks, especially in these heavily regulated sectors like finance, healthcare, and government. Another challenge is that many organizations already struggle to fully track activity in their cloud files. Now, when you add AI-generated summaries on top of that, it creates even bigger blind spots in compliance and security monitoring. So overall, this highlights the importance of understanding and managing these risks as we integrate AI more deeply into our workflows. Now, let's talk about how Purview transforms Copilot from an ungoverned assistant into a fully governed tool. Essentially, it helps us ensure that Copilot's actions are aligned with our organization's compliance and security policies. This transition is crucial because it means we're moving from a free-for-all to a controlled environment. Purview allows administrators to define specific rules that determine what data Copilot can access. This is important because it ensures that the AI's responses are generated within the boundaries we set, keeping everything secure and compliant. It's about maintaining control over the data that Copilot interacts with. Furthermore, Microsoft Purview introduces content-level oversight. This means we can set detailed rules at the data level, deciding not just what data is accessible, but also how it can be used and when. This level of governance gives us confidence that AI responses are responsible and aligned with our policies before they even happen. All of this forms a governance framework for Copilot, helping us manage and oversee its data usage effectively. It's about integrating AI into our workflows securely, ensuring we stay compliant while still leveraging the power of Copilot to boost productivity. Let's take a closer look at how Purview enhances content-level governance. What's really powerful here is that Purview integrates restrictions directly into files and fragments. This means that security becomes an inherent part of the data itself, not just an external rule. By doing this, we ensure that policies are enforced consistently, no matter where the content is accessed or used. It removes the risk of policies being bypassed or overlooked because the restrictions travel with the data. Now, a key concept here is embedded guardrails. Think of classification as the first serious line of defense. It prevents accidental or intentional blending of sensitive data that traditional permissions or data loss prevention measures might not catch. This approach makes sure that sensitive information is protected right at the content level, providing a much more robust security mechanism. And this is crucial because, with Purview, sensitivity labels and classification rules travel with the data. They enforce restrictions everywhere the content goes, including AI-generated outputs. So, whether the data is shared internally or used in an AI context, the guardrails are embedded from the start. This means policies are applied proactively, before Copilot even surfaces any sensitive information. In essence, Purview's ability to embed classification and labels directly into files and fragments creates a seamless, consistent, and secure data environment. Let's talk about why relying solely on DLP and permissions isn't enough when it comes to managing AI like Microsoft 365 Copilot. Content classification is becoming essential for AI governance because it helps us ensure that AI systems respect our data boundaries while they synthesize information. Now, Copilot operates within the permissions we've set, but it can combine data in ways that bypass traditional controls. This shows us why we need additional measures beyond just DLP and permissions. DLP and permissions mainly focus on controlling explicit file access and data transfers, like preventing unauthorized sharing via emails or uploads. But they don't control how AI might synthesize information from multiple accessible files, which is a critical gap. So, while DLP and permissions are valuable, they have limitations. They aren't enough on their own to fully govern AI behavior, especially as AI becomes more advanced in handling and combining data. That's why content classification and other governance measures are so important in this new landscape. Now, let's look at how sensitivity labels influence Copilot's behavior. These labels are essential for governance and risk management within Microsoft 365 Copilot. They ensure that sensitive data is managed properly, which helps prevent misuse or accidental exposure of confidential information. It's important to understand that the enforcement of these labels depends on how they're configured and the licensing in place. That means before deploying Copilot broadly, you really need to validate how labels behave in your specific environment. This step is crucial to ensure everything works as intended and that sensitive data stays protected. Sensitivity labels like confidential HR or restricted finance do more than just mark files. They can apply encryption, watermarks, and access restrictions. These features are vital because they influence how Copilot handles content. For example, they prevent sensitive information, like HR details, from appearing in inappropriate contexts, such as outside the HR group. Overall, sensitivity labels are powerful tools. They guide Copilot to treat data responsibly, helping you maintain control over your organization's most sensitive information while enabling productive and secure use of the platform. Now, let's talk about the pilot implementation of Purview governance and how it plays a crucial role in managing risk for Microsoft 365 Copilot. This staged rollout approach is designed to give us measurable control without overwhelming our teams. By implementing gradually, we can expand as our confidence in the system grows, which helps us build a sustainable governance model that can adapt over time. The first step is to define appropriate sensitivity labels. These are key to classifying our data, and then test how well these labels are enforced within the environment. It's also important to map our policies to Copilot's behavior in these sensitive areas, ensuring that the system acts in line with our governance standards. This process makes sure our governance framework isn't just theoretical, it's practical and enforceable in real-world scenarios. Next, we want to start with a pilot focused on our highest-risk data libraries. Think of areas like finance, HR, and legal. Addressing these critical areas first helps us ensure that the most sensitive and valuable data is protected from the outset. By doing so, we lay a strong foundation for effective governance across the entire organization, setting the stage for a successful broader rollout. Let's talk about governance and risk management for Microsoft 365 Copilot. This slide emphasizes how it transforms conjecture into verifiable history. Essentially, it turns assumptions or suspicions into concrete, traceable records. This is absolutely essential for compliance and security investigations, where having a clear audit trail can make all the difference. Now, this visibility allows us to identify which sensitive materials may have influenced a Copilot response. It also tracks when those materials were accessed and whether their use was appropriate. So, we're not just seeing the output, but also understanding the context and the potential sensitivities involved. Moving to the next point, Purview's auditing and e-discovery capabilities play a crucial role here. They enable us to track how AI-generated responses are composed by linking those outputs back to their original source content. This helps ensure accountability and transparency in how the AI is operating. In summary, auditing AI interactions with Purview provides a powerful way to maintain oversight. It gives us the ability to verify responses, understand their origins, and ensure compliance, all essential for responsible AI usage in our organization. Let's talk about some of the challenges we face when auditing AI-generated content, particularly in the context of governance and risk management for Microsoft 365 Copilot. One of the key issues we need to address is the improvement of retention settings. Currently, these settings are not sufficient to cover all the gaps we have in auditing AI-generated content. This is really important because retention settings help us understand how sensitive data flows through our systems and whether it's properly protected. To get a clearer picture, we need to enhance these retention settings specifically for AI workflows. But that's not all. We also need more detailed telemetry settings. By deepening our telemetry, we can close the gaps left by traditional auditing methods. This means we can better track and visualize how sensitive data moves within AI workflows, giving us a much more comprehensive understanding. Speaking of traditional audit logs, they do a good job of capturing file access events, who opened what, when, but they fall short when it comes to the AI's synthesis process. Since Copilot might never explicitly open or access files in a way that traditional logs can detect, we're often left uncertain about how content is generated or surfaced in outputs. This limitation makes it harder to fully understand and audit the AI's actions, which is a critical concern for governance and risk management. So overall, to effectively manage the risks associated with AI-generated content, we need to enhance our retention and telemetry settings and develop new ways to monitor the AI's internal processes. This will help us ensure better oversight and security as we continue to rely more on AI in our workflows. Let's talk about how governance and risk management for Microsoft 365 Copilot really strengthen accountability within organizations. When we have a documented history of actions and decisions, it helps build a stronger sense of responsibility and clarity. It also promotes transparency, which is essential for trust in our compliance processes. This is where audit logs come into play. They support faster and more accurate investigations by providing a clear record of what happened. This means that when regulatory concerns or inquiries arise, organizations can respond more efficiently and confidently. Furthermore, Purview audit logs serve as defensible evidence during regulatory inquiries. They show exactly what Copilot drew from and what actions it took, which is crucial for demonstrating compliance. Especially in regulated industries, having this documented history is vital because it helps prove that we're following the rules and avoids reliance on uncertain user recollections or assumptions. In summary, the auditing benefits we gain here are essential for maintaining regulatory compliance, ensuring accountability, and fostering trust across our organizations. Let's talk about proactive risk management with insider risk. When we focus on governance and risk management for Microsoft 365 Copilot, we're really emphasizing the importance of detecting abnormal activities early on. For example, activities like accessing data outside of normal working hours can be a red flag. By identifying these early, we can take measures to secure our data before any leaks even happen. This proactive approach acts as an early warning system, helping us catch risky behaviors before they escalate into incidents. The great thing is that employees can keep working without interruption because we're addressing potential risks behind the scenes. Insider risk management isn't just about reacting after something goes wrong. It's about extending our governance from traditional auditing to proactive detection. We monitor for unusual behaviors, like abnormal downloads or off-hours access, and generate alerts before any data leaks occur. In essence, this approach allows us to stay one step ahead, ensuring that our data stays safe while maintaining smooth workflows. It's about creating a security environment that's proactive rather than reactive, which is crucial in today's fast-paced digital landscape. Let's take a closer look at some examples of insider risk alerts in action. These scenarios highlight how prioritizing context over just raw permissions is key to effective governance and risk management with Microsoft 365 Copilot. For instance, when we see repeated after-hours requests for sensitive HR information, it raises a red flag that warrants investigation. It's not just about who has access, but the context of when and how this access is being used. This approach helps us catch small issues early before they escalate into major exposures. Another example involves sudden bulk downloads of confidential finance files. These trigger conditional alerts and initiate review workflows automatically. Again, the focus is on understanding the behavior in context rather than relying solely on permission levels. Overall, these scenarios demonstrate how targeted, meaningful reviews can prevent significant security breaches. By focusing on the activity's context, we can more effectively identify and respond to potential insider risks, keeping our organization safer. Let's talk about balancing productivity and governance. It's really about finding that sweet spot where security controls support rather than hinder business agility. When done right, governance creates an environment where managing risks doesn't slow down work, it actually enables it. This balance ensures that security measures are effective without becoming a burden. For example, with Microsoft 365 Copilot, we only want to trigger interventions when there's high confidence or repeatable risk signals. This way, employees can use Copilot productively without constantly second-guessing or feeling slowed down by unnecessary checks. And speaking of that, effective governance needs to be smart about noise. It should design rules that are noise-resistant, meaning they minimize false positives and avoid disrupting daily work. When rules are well-crafted like this, employees can focus on their tasks without unnecessary interruptions, which ultimately supports both security and productivity seamlessly. Let's take a closer look at the governance roadmap for Copilot adoption, specifically focusing on governance and risk management within Microsoft 365 Copilot. First, it's crucial to detect and prevent any anomalous behaviors proactively, and we do this through insider risk management. By applying this approach, we can strengthen oversight and help minimize potential compliance gaps before they become bigger issues. Next, we need to verify that policies are being enforced effectively. This is where auditing comes into play. Auditing provides a transparent mechanism to monitor compliance and governance, giving us visibility into how data and policies are being managed. Finally, protecting sensitive information is a top priority. Classifying data with sensitivity labels allows us to safeguard critical data appropriately. Implementing these labels ensures that sensitive information remains protected within the Copilot framework, reducing the risk of leaks or misuse. Together, these steps form a comprehensive approach to governance, helping us maintain control, ensure compliance, and secure our most valuable data as we adopt Copilot across our organization. Let's wrap up with some key takeaways on governance and risk management for Microsoft 365 Copilot. First, it's crucial to proactively protect against potential threats. By doing so, we ensure that Copilot becomes a trusted and reliable productivity tool that we can all depend on. Next, I want to highlight the importance of insider risk management. Maintaining transparency in AI operations is vital. When we audit these processes, it builds trust and accountability, showing everyone that we're serious about responsible AI use. Following that, embedding guardrails is essential. These guardrails act as safety nets, preventing the exposure of sensitive data and ensuring that AI is used safely and appropriately. Finally, starting with sensitivity labels helps us classify and protect our most sensitive information from the get-go. Altogether, these steps, protection, insider risk management, auditing, guardrails, and sensitivity labels, form a comprehensive approach to responsibly managing AI in our organization. They connect back to our overall goal of creating a secure, trustworthy, and effective AI environment.